Well, let's see this time how to launch dedicated hosts and dedicated instances on AWS. Before we continue, keep in mind that all of this will incur costs, so keep that in mind if you want to replicate this demo. So, normally, if I want to launch a dedicated instance, I would click on Launch Instance. I would configure the necessary settings, such as AMI, instance type, key pair, security groups and storage, and then, in the Advanced Details section, we would go to the Tenancy option. Choose Dedicated Instance here and then Launch Instance. With this, the EC2 instance will be launched as a dedicated instance. Remember, a dedicated Amazon EC2 instance is an instance running on hardware dedicated to a single client. This means that the instance is physically isolated at the server level from instances belonging to other clients. Now, let's see how to launch a dedicated host. From the left pane, we go to Dedicated Hosts and then Allocate Dedicated Host. So, in this case, I'm going to put a different use case. Let's say I need an instance running macOS for some kind of project. For this, AWS uses a combination of physical hardware and virtualization to provide macOS instances to customers. Amazon EC2 Mac instances are created on physical Mac Mini computers, which include the models such as Apple M1, M2 and M2 Pro, and so on. And they all have their own macOS operating system. So with that said, let's proceed to their configuration. I'll start by giving it a name like PostGiro. Next, we have the instance family option. The option you define here specifies the instance families that the dedicated host will support. In my case, I will look for MAT2. And, once selected, below, under Instance Type, I choose the type of instance that can be launched on this dedicated host. In this case, MAT2 Metal with a configuration of 8 vCPU and 16 GB of RAM. Note that I only have this option because above I chose the Mac instance family, but I have more options. For now, I will leave it like this. The next option allows you to select an availability zone for your dedicated host. I will choose here US East 2B. You then have the option to define the Outpost ARN. AWS Outpost is a service that allows you to deploy AWS in your local environment or in your data center. It is not required. The next option refers to automatic placement of instances. Instance auto placement allows you to specify whether instances are launched on a specific dedicated host or on any available dedicated host. So, when the option is enabled, that is, automatic placement is enabled, these C2 instances will be automatically placed on this dedicated host. If I disable this option, I must use the host ID of this dedicated host when launching an EC2 instance. Doing so will launch the EC2 instance on this dedicated host. I will leave it like this so we can see the whole process. The next option refers to host recovery. So, if there is a problem with a dedicated host, AWS will automatically restart your EC2 instances on a new replacement dedicated host. This could be due to loss of network connectivity, system power, or hardware or software issues on the physical server. The next option refers to host maintenance. Then, when the performance of the dedicated host degrades, a new dedicated host is assigned and your EC2 instances are scheduled to automatically restart and move to the new dedicated host. The maintenance is scheduled to occur after 14 days, and you have the option to reschedule it. I'm going to disable it for now. Finally, we have the option to specify how many dedicated hosts we want, in this case only one, and with this, I click on Assign. And it's done. Selecting that host, we can see here some information like the vCPU utilization, which is at 0%. Now, let's go to Instances and Launch Instance. I will give it a name like Mac AWS Gyro. I choose the macOS AMI and leave it, in this case, the Sonoma version. In architecture, I will choose ARM. In instance type, I choose MAT2 Metal. I choose a couple of keys that I have already created before. In network configuration, I edit and leave this like this. I will let it create a security group. I will give a name like MacSG to that security group, and I make sure to allow both SSH and port 5900 TCP from anywhere just for this demo so as not to show my public IP. All in all, this will not last long in execution. This storage I leave it like this, and in advanced details, I go to tenancy. And from the list, I choose dedicated host. In the next list, I choose host ID, and then I choose the dedicated host that I launched a moment ago. Once this is done, I will click on Launch Instance. Already done, View Instances. And here we see that our NAC instance is running. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes until it passes the status checks, and we'll come back here to see how we connect to it.